Random thought. How involved should parents be at their kids' games? And I ask this because, LeBron James, again, not a fan of him on the court. Love this man off the court, though. And when I say off the court and what he does, community-wise, what he does to uplift his community and what he does just for his family. He's always around the kids, having a good time with them. And that involves, of course, showing up to Bronny's games and being super cheerleader on the sidelines. And sometimes getting a little involved. We know LeBron can be a little opinionated, and he's definitely shared his opinion. And just recently, he got into it with the courtside announcer because the announcer stepped out of the coloring lines and decided to say that Bronny, who drew a foul, well, he got the foul just because we're playing in the arena that his dad made famous. And it was like, LeBron decided to check him in the middle of the game.
Yeah. I think I'm all for parents being involved, and I think your level of involvement is going to vary, especially if the gym they're playing is named after you. So, yeah, you get a little bit more leeway. But, I didn't agree with what he did. I think that's something he could have did after the game. But, stop the game mid-play, to me, it's almost like you're doubling down on the privilege that Bronny has. Right. And it's not his intent. He's just being a dad to say, hey, that's BS, man. Why would you do that? Which she's totally right. But I'd wait until after the game. And then after that, hey, you're never going to announce games here in my gym again.
I'm about to say, yeah, you'd wait till after the game because the gym isn't named after you. It's not the Just Terrell Arena. It's the LeBron James Arena. So, when I walk into a place with my name on it, I'm probably going to want that exact same kind of respect. Like, hey, know your role, shut your mouth, call out what's happening, stop giving your personal opinion. You want to do that? Go do color commentary elsewhere, but not here, not for everybody else. And he was right. I mean, in all honesty, what the guy did was so wrong. And in a way, it just puts a negative light on Bronny, which unnecessarily a negative light. So
yeah, it does. But if you own the Staples Center, you just can't run down mid-game and call out that announcer. I just think that's just not the time to do it. I think you do call it out, but you call it after the game. Pull the announcer aside or just let them know, hey, you're never going to announce here again because you did this, and this is my house. But coming out on the court like that mid-game, I think he needs to separate himself a little bit. He did it earlier this past week where the players were going through the layup line on Bronny's team, and he jumps in and starts doing layup drills with them and dunks the ball. And I'm like, that puts attention on you. It's not about you. It's right. About your son and his son's players. You shouldn't even be on the court because it takes all the attention away. To me, the story should have been more about this game and what happened. Because of who he is, it's like you're a star. You cause more problem. You cause more harm than good when you do that.
Right now I can hear Cowboy fans going, yeah, can you please tell that to Jerry Jones? Anytime he doesn't like what's going on in the field, he goes down on the field. Hey, I need you to call this play for me.
Yeah. Hey, but you know what? If I owned a team, I would do the exact same thing. All I'm saying is you shouldn't do it. But yet, if I owned a team, I'm going to come down and I'll be like, why are we not going for it on fourth down? I don't care if it's 4th and 20. Go for it.
It's 4th and 20. We're on hour 1. So many things can go wrong. What do you mean?
Go for it. You run that. You get out there and you throw the ball to this person. I'm gonna call the play.
And that's why you don't own any teams.
And that's why I don't own a team. I'd be like, hey, Drew, come over here for a second. I know this is your last game. Here's what you're gonna do. I wouldn't even look at the playbook. I would just get down like bottle caps in the ground. Okay, you're the stick. Okay. You're the bottle cap.
But the coach just called. He's the coach. I'm the owner. You do what I say.
What's that movie with Tom Hanks where the ship got hijacked by pirates?
Oh yeah, I'm the captain now.
Yeah, I'm the coach now.
Hey, welcome to the show. I'm Yanni Rude.
And I'm just Terrell. You ever been out somewhere and overheard two people having some crazy conversations?
Well, we are those people, and we've been having these conversations since college.
Yeah, it's the Regular Guys Random Thoughts Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and definitely leave us a comment.
4th of July weekend, what's been going on in the life of Terrell?
4th of July weekend was good. I took Friday off to do some honeydews because I had a family that was going to be coming up to see my house for the first time. And so I need to get some touch-up paint stuff done and just little stuff around the house you normally get a chance to do during the week.
Hold up.
And
you said honeydews. Did you give yourself a list and you're like, honey, do this? And you're like, okay, I got it.
That's just what I call them. That's just what I call them, honeydews. I don't like saying chores because I'm not 12. You know, I'm an adult.
I just wanted to make sure I understood this completely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I gave myself some honeydews. And so I did that. Then Saturday went down to San Antonio to go see family. Had a aunt and uncle that came in town from New Orleans. Another cousin was there. Just a bunch of some of my family from my stepdad's side. So it was great just to kind of hang out, eat, and just relax. BS talking. Mm-hmm. And then I came back. And then Sunday, remember I was coming over to my place, so I went and got some grit barbecue. And then these curtains. So I have these curtains in my living room, and they're about 7 foot long. And I was reading something that says the way you can make your room look bigger is have like very, very long curtains that go from like all but to the ceiling down to the floor. So I need to get 9 foot curtains. So I ordered them, and I was like, great, these probably aren't going to be in until Wednesday the 10th. That's what they originally said. Well, I come home from picking up the barbecue out at my front door, thanks to Amazon, had a box of curtains. And so I was like, I'm going to try to swap these out real quick. Yeah, that's a 2-person job. I learned because I don't have a ladder, which is something I guess when you're a homeowner, you probably need one of those.
So
I'm trying to on this chair. And I'm trying to get up there. And I was just like, yeah, this is a 2-person job. So they show up. I got one long curtain up and I got one short curtain.
So you want to make sure everybody's represented in this house. The tall people and the short people.
Yeah. So it was a good weekend. It was a good weekend. What about you?
So I was in the truck for the weekend. We had a couple events to do. So it was more like a reunion Saturday night. And the spot we were in 787 was the same spot that we owned a couple about 10 years ago. So that was great, seeing a lot of the old faces back in there. That was a lot of fun. Then did a day party on Sunday, so that was a lot of fun as well too. And hence why this episode's coming out a little late this week is just because there was so much going on, man, and traveling back and made it back to work Monday morning because here's the thing about doing syndicated programming. No matter what, somebody's got to be in there to make sure the show still runs, even if it's the hosts are off. I remember when like last week they're like, "Hey, so y'all are off next week?" No. They're off next week. As the executive producer and my associate producer, somebody's got to be in there to make sure the show still runs. At the end of the day, the show still has to run. It's why, and radio has always been that way. And I know you've been involved in so many different facets, and you're not worried about the clock 9 to 5 at any given time. So you kind of understand this. But for us, we're like, a holiday weekend's coming. In radio, you go, okay. It just means more work. It doesn't mean less work. It doesn't mean, you just get to check out. You don't check out because the radio never goes off. And that's the same thing in doing syndicated programming. It never goes off. So you still got to provide content regardless. It is a holiday. Yeah. Monday's the holiday because the 4th was actually on Sunday. But the station still got to air something. All the affiliates have to air content. So we got to provide it and make sure it's on time.
So when they do that, do they, and educate me, do they record, instead of going live like they normally would they just pre-record content, or would you just use an old show?
Yes,
and just kind of announce that, hey, we're using an old show for this because it's holiday.
So that used to be the way. You just do a best of, and it's the best of the whatever show, right? But nowadays, it is so much easier, and there's so much content. You just got to make sure it's evergreen content. Evergreen meaning it's not timely. There's no timestamp like it happened yesterday, and you're actually saying that. So it's got to be something that can still make sense when you hear it today. If you're hearing it for the first time, you don't go, well, why are they talking about Derek Jackson? because that Derrick Jackson guy, that happened so much earlier. Or if you do, then you have to reference it. So you do have to do some content around it. Like, hey, back in whatever month it was that Derrick Jackson fucked up, this is what happened and here's what it is. So there is new content around it. There's completely new content. And there's some regurgitation of past content that is evergreen. But yeah, and in this day and age, it's still made to not sound like it's the best of. Because what happens is people just go, oh, best of, never mind, and they tune out.
Oh, so what if there was, let's say today's a holiday, so you probably have some recorded content that's evergreen, as you put it. But let's just say today you had a situation like in Florida where a condo collapses. Right. Big news. Would y'all have to get somebody to go on air to start talking about that? Or would you just wait till the next day?
That's where proper pre-planning prevents piss-poor performance comes into play. And so you've got your starters out, right? So you've got some bench players, and I say bench players just because you've got different people you can pull from, and different pools you can pull from, and you go, okay, here's what I need you to do this week. I'm going to need you to do updates because we still need to make sure we're timely with what's happening. Yeah. And it could just be a segment of news where it's just give me the top 2 stories here in news, and then the top 2 stories in entertainment. So at least there is current content out there. And in there you say, hey, filling in for so-and-so, and that be it. And that way you're on top of it because, yes, there are times, and especially in this day and age, where something happens. You've got something already pre-programmed, it's all set, and then something happens. What do you have to do? You don't let that shit keep playing. We watched this happen. When Prince died, there was a pivot. I was doing Top 40 radio at the time, but there was a pivot immediately. Hey, I need a mix for this afternoon. I need a Prince mix. We're going to do, what was it, Party Like It's 1999, right? So we did 1999 seconds of Prince, which was a 35, I think, minute mix. So straight mix of that, right? But you have other stations who had already pre-recording in the market, and they were just like, they acted as if he hadn't died. They talked about it the next day. And they're like, if you want to be timely, you've got to be able to break. Yeah, I already had this plan, but it's time to call an audible because they're blitzing, damn it. They're blitzing. Got one-on-one coverage on the outside. Throw it over the top. So basically, that's all it is. Just being able to call those audibles and make it happen.
Got it. Totally different in the corporate world because holiday comes, you off.
Look, that's why the whole thing we talked about when it's like, take for instance, Friday was half day, right? Office closes early. Office closes at 2:00. In programming, you know what that means? Nothing, because if your show is from 3 to 7, guess what? You're not leaving early.
Yeah.
Your show is from 3 to 7. If your show is from 10 to 3, guess what? You're not leaving early. Your show is from 10 to 3.
So if you really want work-life balance, don't go into radio.
Yeah, exactly. Don't go to media because it never stops.
Yeah.
Hey, to follow up on some stuff that we saw, a previous story that we had before, I saw this and Soho Karen charged with a hate crime? What's going on there?
That was the young lady that was in the hotel and she was in Soho, couldn't find her phone. And she thought this young black boy stole her phone. And she was just going nuts. And she told the manager, this person stole my phone. The manager's trying to grab him. And his dad, who she didn't know was a Grammy-winning musician, he was trying to stop her. And she's lunging at this kid. And come to find out, he didn't have her phone. The hotel did. And then she also went on, because they were trying to find her. Remember, this is in that early stages of people trying to find people on Twitter.
That's like, she was on with Gail, right?
Yeah, so she was on with Gail, and then she acted a monkey with Gail, just trying to put her hand up. Gail, stop, enough, and whatever. And her lawyer's like, don't do that. And then right after that is when she got arrested originally. So now they're looking at charging her with a hate crime, and I'm curious to see how this is going to play out. Because she was 22, 23 when that happened. I'm just curious to see what the charge and stuff is going to be. I don't know if everything in the climate is as high as it was when this happened.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like when this happened, you had a lot of people that were straight up, off with their head kind of stuff.
Right.
And so now I'm wondering, okay, it's been a long time. I wonder what should happen. And what does that mean if she gets charged with a hate crime? What is that? She get probation? I'm just curious. I'm curious to know what the boy's dad thinks that she should get.
I'm wondering why a hate crime. I know it's, and I said she's been indicted on a slew of charges, including 2 hate crimes. I'm just wondering why the hate crimes. What is it? Because, see, I always wonder when they go, is it because this is what they know they can get them on? Or they go, if we do a hate crime and she's not going to be found guilty of a hate crime, because I don't go hate crime. It's not the first thing I go, yes. Was it racially motivated attack? Yes, it was. I guess that does kind of make it a hate crime, right? But when I think hate crime, I'm thinking KKK style as opposed to, but then again, that's because this is not my child, because they would probably have a whole nother charge if it was my child. And that charge would be on me, because I don't play them kind of games with my family.
Right. Yeah.
So
well, your wife would have threw some blows. Like it would. Oh, yeah. You couldn't hit her, but your wife could, and it'd have been fine. So I don't know. I think, and maybe they're trying to go hate crime, and that way if it gets bumped down a little bit, at least they can get more than if they just tried to say it was disorderly conduct or something like that. Do I think, because part of me says, okay, what she did was wrong. Mm-hmm. Don't know the state of mind she was in when she was doing this, but now I watched the video of her getting interviewed by Gail, and she didn't do anything to really help herself to make people think, well, maybe she was just drunk or it was a crazy.
What state of mind
she's off her meds?
Inebriated.
Yeah, don't know. But I don't like really calling it a hate crime.
Right.
Because that follows you. When I look at background checks and you see people get charged with terroristic threats. Mm-hmm. Now, the terroristic threat could have been, you could have called in a bomb scare at your college because you didn't want to take an exam. And so you call in a bomb scare that technically could be labeled as a terroristic threat.
Are you going to hire the person?
No, okay. I wouldn't hire the person. But you don't know the full context of it. So to have something like that, a hate crime, follow her forever, I just don't know.
That's a bad example.
I don't know how I feel about it.
Bad example. Is it? It's okay. A bad example. Because if you call in a bomb threat just because you didn't want to take an exam, I mean, yeah, I don't need you calling a bomb threat because you don't want to come into work.
But back in college, obviously back in college, before 9/11.
Even you didn't do stupid shit like that.
That was a known thing.
No, it was not.
That was a known thing.
Who did that?
People could do that. People would do that.
People?
They could call in a bomb threat. I mean, they didn't do bomb threats at HBCUs, but it could have been other schools.
I just want to be clear who we talking about here. You people. Who people?
Hey, at UTSA, I did get out of taking an exam, a midterm, because I claimed my car was stolen. Mm-hmm. And I had security drive me around and filed a police report knowing my car wasn't stolen.
Now that's bad.
But at least I had documentation to give me another day to go take the exam.
That's bad. But that's not calling it a bomb threat. There's a big difference. Bomb threat, that's like going to the airport and yelling bomb. You don't, like when the woman last week said, I better smack the shit out of you, you're on the plane. Go ahead. I did, because that's why I bet you don't. I don't care if you got me by 100 pounds. I bet you don't.
Just don't take it to the ground. You're good.
Exactly. Stick a move.
Yeah, she gets you on that ground game, you could be in some trouble.
Get on me.
So yeah, so I don't know. I'm gonna follow this story just to see, but I'm curious. I'd be curious to hear what the dad would want now that there's been time. Right? Curious to know, like, would he want her charged with a hate crime? And it being charged with a hate crime, what does that mean? Because she hasn't been convicted, just charged. Right? So just curious to see what this plays out into. But stuff like that will follow her. I mean, she's so young. That's the problem with these people doing this stuff. They, it's one thing if you're older, you're 50s, 60s, you don't give a shit about going viral because it doesn't impact you. You're not on the job market. But when you're in your early 20s, that stuff follows you around.
Well, she the way she acted shows that she has a level of privilege. I'm sure she'll be fine. And because that level of privilege allows you to overlook those, she was just a kid. It's fine. Certain things that aren't afforded to other people. So that kind of stuff I think should be fine.
Well, you went to an antebellum party, in college. You were young. What's the big deal?
So you went blackface, whatever. So you robbed a liquor store. What?
It depends on what you robbed. You robbed some good shit, then they'd be like, okay, he's just being a juvenile. But rob some Hennessy, they'd be like,
exactly. It's their kind. I can't help it. You know, and speaking of these charges, because this is part of what it is too. Is and I've seen this pop up quite a bit with the whole Bill Cosby getting released from prison. That kind of took over the news last week, and it looks because of some testimony that was allowed during trial that shouldn't have been allowed, and that's why here the sentence the ruling's been overturned. Now he's free. And of course, there are a lot of people with a lot of opinions on this.
Yeah, I let me see how do I want to word this. I understand why he got out because of this technicality, and that's the law and all that. I get it, but the dude admitted to doing these things, and so to me, anybody that still supports Bill Cosby, such as a Felicia Rashad, you should be ashamed of yourself. The dude admitted to doing it. It's one thing if he was been convicted, never admitted to it, nothing, and got arrested. We've seen that happen to a lot of people, right? Especially people of color. We've seen it happen where, they were innocent. They kept saying they were innocent. Bill never said he was innocent. And he admitted to doing this.
But he admitted in admissible conversation.
Doesn't matter. He admitted that he did it. We all know that. Everyone knows that he said that, yep, he did these things. So to me, once you said you've done those things, regardless of the technicality, I still can't be cool with you. I'm still not going to watch The Cosby Show anymore. I'm not going to support anything that Bill Cosby does because of this. The dude admitted it. And for all the people that, especially all the black people who were like, well, it's because he was trying to buy Fox News and all this, and this is a smear campaign. I'm like, bullshit. The dude admitted to doing it. And so if he admitted to doing it, how do you still associate yourself with somebody who does that? I just don't get it.
If you may have missed it, Felicia Rashad, took to Twitter to celebrate his release, saying, finally, a terrible wrong is being righted. A miscarriage of justice is corrected. Now, to be fair, what she said isn't wrong. If it's inadmissible, it's inadmissible. So what she's saying isn't wrong. She didn't say he was. She also didn't say he was innocent. And of course, set off a lot of backlash at Howard University, where she's the dean of fine arts, and you can understand why when you start digging further into why there was so much backlash. Because I want to say, what was it, 2017? At least 6 women had had sued the university over sexual assault. Right. A couple of years later, a couple of them recanted their stories, but then more have come out since, and it's just like you can understand why the university was at this. All right, so they condemned what she said, and then of course she backpedals a little bit, saying, "I fully support survivors of sexual assault coming forward. My post was in no way intended to be insensitive to their truth. Personally, I know from friends and family that such abuse has lifelong residual effects. My heartfelt wish is for healing," which again goes back to her initial tweet. She didn't say he was innocent.
Okay. What did she say in the tweet again? What's the first line?
Finally, in all caps, a terrible wrong is being righted. A miscarriage of justice.
Stop right there. The terrible wrong was him drugging and raping chicks. This is not a terrible wrong, and that's what the problem is and what she said. So she all but dismisses the fact that he was raping, drugging chicks for years, and a whole lot that came out, and there's probably a whole lot more that didn't speak up. That's the terrible wrong. And so for her to make it seem like finally a terrible wrong has been, correct, that's just crazy, Felicia.
What's really crazy is the response, I think. Considering how, and it's really interesting because, the black community for a while, and I say this and make it feel like it's a blanket statement, but remember when Bill Cosby was doing the whole pull your pants up and people rebelled against him saying that, then this happens and they go, no, it's an injustice, and now he's out, I'm happy he's out. But it was interesting to hear some of the callers who would say like, hey, well, back in the Studio 54 days, everybody was doing drugs, and I'm like, you
doesn't
can't
matter.
Some of you sound really pedophile right now. Some of you sound very rapey right now. Some of you guys sound like it's it's scary. As the father of a young girl, it's scary to hear that they're actually men who think and go, well, I'm just glad he's out because they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were asking for.
Okay, so you and I went to college together. You know, we have a lot of stories that we don't share.
And never will.
On the air. But one thing that I can say about both of us, now we might have had a wild night out drunk, but us and the girls involved were drunk at 2. So we both made bad decisions, but we weren't in the right mindset to agree. Now, that happens a lot. And I think that's what people are talking about with Studio 54. And people get drunk and taking drugs and all this kind of stuff. Things happen. But there's a difference than me saying, hey, Yanni, I have this girl coming over. Whatever you do, don't drink out of the red glass. There's a difference if I drug somebody so I could take advantage of them. And that's what Bill admitted to doing. So to me, that's totally different than a Studio 54. We're all doing drugs and things happened compared to I intentionally gave you something that's going to sedate you so I could take advantage of you.
If true, and I've never understood the concept and the mentality of a guy who goes, well, I'm gonna get her drunk and so we can get. And even this is not even drugging. This is just drunk And I go, if you feel that she has to be drunk to sleep with you, what does that say about you, right? We've watched people who prey on. They see somebody staggering and go, oh. All right, this one's right for the picking. All right, now we got to make sure she doesn't leave with this predator right here.
Yeah, and I think that's what the issue I have with this, and I get that there's a whole lot of positives that people have done in people's lives. 'Cause I remember this was the conversation when everything first happened with Bill, when they were like, well, how do you dismiss all this? He's given money to these schools. He's done this. He's helped these people's careers. That's great. He has done some good things too. But what he did was bad, huge. And so you can't say, well, how do you separate the two? You don't. There's certain people you got to say, hey, I got to cut you off and just don't speak on it publicly and move on. But for Phylicia Rashad to make that tweet, it just, to me, it backfired on her, rightfully so. And it was very insensitive because to me, your second follow-up tweet, your first tweet shows that you don't support those people, because if you did, you wouldn't have said the first thing in the first place. So now you're doing damage control, which is equivalent to the apology tour that I hate. You said it, leave it at that. Don't even respond.
Are you saying I can't post my picture of Phylicia Rashad anymore now?
You can post it all you want. She didn't drug and rape people.
Just making sure.
Now, if she lured people in for Bill, then and that comes out, well, then total different ballgame. But she didn't do anything. She just had a dumb tweet.
Okay, just making sure.
You can still post your picture with her. But I know if I were to meet her somewhere, if I'm out at a restaurant, I'm like, oh, that's Phylicia Rashad. And said, Terrell, you should go say hi. I'd be like, hi, Phylicia.
Bye, Phylicia.
Yeah. And that's it. I'm not going to be all excited like I would have been before. I'm just look at her and be like, you're really supportive of a rapist. I just don't know if I can deal.
So no more Cosby Show reruns for you, and I'm assuming that also means no R. Kelly music for you at all either, right?
Yes, I stopped. I don't watch anything Bill Cosby anymore. I had a Bill Cosby Pandora station. I shut that down. I don't listen to R. Kelly. As much as I'd like to, I don't listen to R. Kelly. Because some of the music was good, but I can't. He's been this way from the beginning. Now, totally different than Michael Jackson, because I feel like I can listen to the Jackson 5, and I could listen to Off the Wall and the Thriller album. But I think if he started doing what he was doing right around the I'm Bad album, I can miss all that. And I won't listen to any of that stuff. But on the Thriller album, he was okay then. So I feel like I can still listen to that.
There's a deeper discussion in there somewhere down the line as to, do you really think Mike...
Yeah, we should have that to get some... I just think, like, if you start out doing those things, I can't mess with you. But if you did some great things here, and then all of a sudden you started doing some bad stuff, everything you did up until the bad thing, I think I can still listen to and support.
Okay. Okay.
Because don't mess with Off the Wall and Thriller. Let me have those. If I find out that he was doing something back in the mid-'80s, then I'll change that.
Then you'll be stuck with Ben and I'll be there.
Yeah, that's just tweedledee. Yeah, I'll do Rock and Robin. I'll do those. I Want You Back. Fine. If I got to just stick with those, were great too. Timeless.
So if we make a quick switch over here for the love of sports, great news for Terrell, since it looks like the kiss of death is over.
Told you. I've been saying it. I said the Suns are going to beat the Clippers as long as Kawhi Leonard doesn't come back. And what happened? They whooped the shit out of him because Paul George is not guaranteed to have back-to-back 40-point games. That's just not who he is. And so I knew that was going to happen. And then the Bucks surprised me because I was claiming the Bucks were going to beat Atlanta. I said it. But then when Giannis got hurt, I was like, ooh. And then they had that first game in Milwaukee without Giannis. And the team just whooped ass because Trae Young was out too. Team just dominated. I'm like, okay, they're going to go into Atlanta. Giannis isn't playing. And at first, Trae Young wasn't going to play. Then Trae Young was coming in. But I was like, even with all the size that the Bucks have, they can still do this. And they put a spanking on it. Now, Atlanta almost came back in that game 6. They got it back to within 10, I think within 8 at one point. But Middleton, all the threes, all the options they had. Trae Young just didn't have enough in the tank. He was still hurt, and they didn't have enough people. Like Trae Young has to ball out every game for them to win. So it's going to be Bucks and Suns. Game 1's tomorrow. And you heard it right here. Bucks and 5.
Bucks and 5. So as we get down to this, so you're picking Bucks and 5. I'm not going to give a number because, of course, NBA season.
I'm sorry. Let me backpedal. Bucks and 6. I think Phoenix can win at least 2 games.
So Bucks and 6.
So Bucks and 6.
So I would love to be on the opposing side and pick the Suns, but I've met Chris Middleton, interviewed Chris Middleton a number of times. He's from down in the Charleston area. He does his basketball camp there every year. So I'm gonna go with the Bucks too. When does the NBA season start for me now? Okay, so
Tomorrow.
Tuesday night. Okay, cool. All right. So
Tuesday night is the first game of the NBA for you.
All right, so I'll watch the NBA season. How many other games it takes to crown a champion, and we're both rooting for the same team. I would love to go ahead and pick the Suns, but I know CP3's over there. What Pat Beverly did to try and put him in a car wreck with that shove. Oh my God, that was so violent. Now, you want to talk about a hate crime? That should have been a hate crime, and I'll tell you why too, right? Because I understand if this was 21-year-old CP3. That's fine. He can move like that. But this is an older CP3. And, as you get older, those sudden movements, it takes a while to recover. CP3 may not recover till game 3.
Well, if you watch Patrick Beverly, Patrick Beverly's job is to be the bad guy. His job is to annoy. He's the Bill Laimbeer of the NBA. His job is to piss people off, get under people's skin, mess with them. Draymond Green, that was his role with the Warriors, right? Beverly just takes it to another level. He did it with the Rockets. He's done it in L.A. It's just what he does. And he's good at it, but he's kind of an ass, and I think he lost his cool or whatever, because that time that he kind of accidentally undercut Chris Paul, and Chris Paul fell, and he's making it seem like Chris Paul's acting. Now, don't get me wrong, Chris Paul flops just like everybody else does, but that wasn't a flop. That was Patrick Beverly undercut him. And I think it was unintentional, but it still was an undercut. Act like you have some sense. Be like, hey, dude, you okay? Don't sit up there and make fun of him. And then you've been talking trash. He crossed over Chris Paul and did this layup, which I haven't seen Beverly play the kind of offense he played in that last game against the Suns. But Paul finally puts it on you, hits the dagger with that 3, and walks off talking shit. And that pisses you off. And you turn around and want to shove him. You've been talking trash the whole game.
But here's also why I know the Suns can't win.
You got to dish it. You got to be able to take it.
Chris Paul joins your team. Now you are going to the NBA Finals. This jackass on the other team shoves him. Chris Paul's 105 years old. He can't take this kind of unexpected motion, right? So he may not, again, like I said, he may not recover till game 3 of the NBA Finals, okay? Why, if you're one of the bench players standing around, why is Patrick Beverly still standing? You beat the shit out of him. Beat the shit out of him. If I'm on the team, because if I'm on the team, I'm obviously a bench player.
Point.
Right? That's so if I'm a bench player, I'm taking a swing. He's going down because look, even if I get fined, if I get suspended without pay, you know who's gonna pay me? Chris Paul. You know why? Because I stood up for you. You know that's like your quarterback getting roughed up, and the offensive line just going, wow. They sure did hit his ass.
Yep.
No, the offensive line is supposed to come back there and fuck you up for even thinking about doing that. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem I had out of that was not even what Patrick Beverly did, is the fact that he was allowed
right.
to walk off. Who was all around him? The Suns.
Nothing but Suns players. No one stepped to him. No one said anything. You are 100% right for calling that out. Because had that have been Kobe, had that have been Jordan, had that have been any of these greats, right? It didn't even have to be a Kobe or Jordan. Had that have been, if they shoved, what's his name, Brooks.
You know, I start the season tomorrow. I have no idea who's on it. I
think his last name is Brooks. Devin Booker. Devin Booker. If they shoved Devin Booker like that, Devin Booker was the one that Beverly hit in the face and busted his nose, and he had to wear the visor. If he shoved the shit out of Devin Booker like that, I'm sure the bench would have had some issues. But the fact that Chris Paul is their leader,
that's crazy.
Their admiral, their top ranking officer, and they just stood and watched that.
Jordan was ready to go to blows with the Knicks.
I thought that was pretty crazy to me too.
You got to understand.
How do y'all just let that happen?
That's the kind of intensity I need from my teammates. Because if we're gonna be in the trenches together, I got to know you got my back, and they do not have his back at all. That's what bothered me the most out of that. Looking at that, I was like,
well, apparently, everybody didn't have Pippen's back either. Because if you've heard about the story of Pippen talking shit lately. Going around just kind of talking about Mike, talking about Charles Barkley, talking about Phil Jackson. He has a book coming out, but I'm just like, dude, Pippen, I thought, like, Jordan was kind of nice to you on The Last Dance. He did call you out for not getting a surgery and not coming back to play in that game, but
Scotty's just...
for the most part, y'all had a good career. You might want to shut the hell up on this one. But yeah, you're right. Somebody exactly. should have stepped to Patrick Beverly
because
as soon as he did that. He should not have been able to just walk away.
And it's not for scoring buckets. That's his ex-wife, who
I don't even know who that is.
Cheated on him with Future.
Oh,
who was dating some other NBA player. I mean, what she's known for now is getting around. So yeah. Her dating exploits are what she's known for, and she's probably the most famous Pippen right now. So that's probably what's got him a little salty.
Well, as someone who's also very sex positive, good for you, Miss Pippen. You do your thing as long as you're safe and responsible. Have all the fun you want with all the rappers and ball players you want. I don't understand that though. So here's a thought. Maybe we can make this a random thought one time, but what I don't get, like, think back when we were in college. If there was somebody I know that, one of our friends had hooked up with, I don't want to hook up with them. And it could be not even one of our friends, just we know somebody. We know a dude on campus that she's hooked up. I wouldn't want to hook up with her. But these entertainers, it's like a different world for athletes and entertainers. They just, pass people around. Look at Khloe Kardashian and all these different folks. I'm like, I couldn't just do that because I know.
We're going to erase this from here because I think you have to step back on that in some of the stuff. I think if you go back into history books and stop rewriting history, you'd realize that you might want to backpedal on that one.
No, I said want to date. I didn't say sleep with. I said date. There's a big difference, where... there are times where you might have just had like a one night thing, but to actually date somebody that you...
I meant having a relationship, not having relations.
Exactly. I mean, I think there's a difference. Hey, we're all in Vegas. One thing led to another, yada, yada, yada. But to actively hey, this is my girl. You might know her from... if you watch the Bulls.
Hey, this is my girl. You might know her from when she used to be your girl.
Hey, my girl's coming over. She told me she left her blouse in your closet. I need to get that back, if you don't mind. You know what I'm talking about, the yellow one.
Oh, my God. Look, man, so up and down over the last week and a half, 2 weeks for Sha'Carri Richardson. And just even on the pronunciation of the name, I was calling her Sha'Carri Richardson last week. And then I saw her on the Today Show, and the announcer was going Sha'Carri. And I'm like, look at these announcers. Don't know how to pronounce a black name. And then I thought about it. And when I looked at her Twitter handle again, and her Twitter handle says, it's Carrie. Kerri. And I went, son of a bitch. I'm the one that's been saying it wrong. Am I not black anymore? But Sha'Carri Richardson, of course, she won the 100 meter women's 100 meter Olympic at the Olympic trials. Was predicted to take the gold at the Olympics, and then came out this week she tested positive for marijuana. Now the thing about it is, when this first came out, the first outlet to report this was the Jamaica Gleaner newspaper in Jamaica. So of course the first thing is, all right, so is this real or is this not, or is this Jamaican Olympic team trying to do a smear campaign real
drama.
Quick?
Yeah.
And she tweets out, "I am human," which kind of everybody goes, "Oh well, it definitely happened." Then it comes out. She shows up on the Today Show, and what I like about what she did is she came out and she took responsibility. She says, "I knew the rules. I know what you can do. I know what you can't do, and I did it."
Yep, I appreciate that too. I thought it was great. I watched that interview on the Today Show. Courageous of her to be able to do it. Now, two things. A lot of people were like, well, you got to understand, she lost a family member, and this is why. A, you don't know that. You're making a huge assumption. But B, I deal with drug tests.
But now, she said that, though. She did say that. She did say that.
No, I did. No, that's great. But here's the deal, though. If you occasionally smoke weed, and you smoke weed on Tuesday, you can pass a test on Friday, Saturday. Really? I speak from experience. You can. If you're not a regular user, you're an occasional user, you flush your system, drink a lot of water, and all the different things you do. She's an athlete, so you can work out and get a lot of this stuff out of your system. And then you'll either get a negative or you might get a false positive, which means they might have you retake it, but they didn't show that you were positive.
Right.
So you can totally get out of that, within 3 days of taking a drug test. If you are a random every now and then, once a quarter, I smoke weed.
You about to get some people like, oh, you mean I can smoke weed for the next 5 days and be good?
Yeah, no, if it's every now and then, and again, I speak from experience. Every now and then, if you do, you're okay. If you are a regular, habitual weed smoker, then you can smoke on Tuesday, not smoke again, and Saturday morning take your test, you're going to fail it because it's in your system, right? So there's that piece. So I don't want to say that she only smoked because of this incident in her life. And it's great that she brought it up, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
And she could have been, but I'm just saying, like, let's all not try to say that she was 100% clean and this tragic situation happened and this made her smoke weed. That's what a lot of people were arguing on social media. The second thing, and this is where you and I are going to disagree. I can feel it. I've been waiting for this whole time to talk about this because I just know it. It's going to come out making me look bad. If she was white, we wouldn't be talking about this at all.
Why?
Because I think if she was white, and I was trying to research any other athletes who either failed a drug test or suspended or whatever, and different people that came up, none of us ever heard of. Now, she's potentially the fastest woman in the world being compared to FloJo, so she has a lot of attention. Well, that's why
if she was white, you wouldn't have heard of her because she wouldn't have been.
Exactly. Yeah, because you're not going to have a white person compared to FloJo. You're not going to have a white person compared to Usain Bolt. It's just not going to be that way, right? You don't see people comparing, black tennis players to McEnroe. You don't. But if she was a white chick, we wouldn't be talking about it. There wouldn't be this uproar. There wouldn't be all this petitions getting signed. It just wouldn't have been. Okay. And I think partly because of the climate that we're in, from 2020 to now, I think that's why it's huge. Now, I'm hoping that she's still able to run in the sprint relay. Like, I hope she could still do that. I don't know how that works. Because to me, if she's banned from the 100, why can't she still do the sprint relay?
So here's why. Okay, so here's the deal, and I'll get back to your other point in a minute. But this is an interesting one because I know a lot of people are asking, well, how can she do it, right? So on the relay team, you can have 6 people. On the 4x100 and the 4x400, you can have 6 people named to that relay team. The 4 fastest people in the finals of that race at the trials have to be included, and then you add 2 more. Well, she's technically the fastest, and they know that.
Right.
So she's going to be one of those. She could easily be one of those number 5 or number 6, and it doesn't matter. Those 6 people, you put them however you want. And if they're smart, they're going to make her the anchor and go for the gold. And it'll come down to USA and Jamaica in that one. It'll be a great race to finish. The anchor leg will be Sha'Carri Richardson versus Shelly Ann Frazier from Jamaica, and that's going to make for. Trust me, that's written for the movie. It's there. It's got to happen, right? But that's why. That's how she can make that. Because what happened is her positive test disqualified her run at the Olympic trial. There's not another run coming for her to qualify for the Olympics. So since she was disqualified, 2, 3, and 4 now became 1, 2, and 3. And whoever was 5th now became the 4th automatic person on that relay team. So that's how she could make that. To your other point of her, if she was white, this wouldn't have been. I'm like, well, probably just because she wouldn't have been that fast. But the other point, what other athletes has this come up with? It's the same thing that people have been saying, and I've watched a lot of misinformation on social media, and people hear one person say something or see one person say something and run with it like it's fact. Michael Phelps failed many drug tests. He hasn't even failed one. There was a picture. No. Well, and the other thing was, why was he still allowed to compete? There was a picture that came out of him, and it was at the University of South Carolina, if I remember correctly, where he was partying, and it's a picture of him with a bomb.
The bomb.
Yes, it's a picture. Not even a test, not even a positive test. It's a picture. Off season, it was I think 3 months after the Olympics, so it wasn't during the Olympics. It was before the World Championship, so it's not like he was competing at the time. And so he was suspended. He lost sponsorships, and he was back in time. The problem is this happened a month before the Olympics. That's a problem. It's a little close. And even telling people that he was suspended, he lost sponsorship. Oh, well, that means he got sponsorships back, and so will she.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. It's not apples to apples because we don't give a shit about swimming. We don't.
No, you don't. But
right before Michael Phelps, who had the most medals in swimming? Mark Spitz. Okay. In between that, who had the second most before Michael Phelps?
Who cares?
No one cares.
No, that's his name.
We didn't know who Ryan Lochte was because of Michael Phelps, right? That's how we knew who Ryan Lochte was because of Michael Phelps. And Ryan Lochte acted an ass, and so we all forgot about him, but we still talk about Michael Phelps. It's because we don't really that emotional about swimming, as we are about track and field, as we are about and because it's a big news story because she is because she's an African American woman in the climate that we're in, it's a big story where I think if she was white, we wouldn't be having any of this conversation about it. We'd be like, oh, that sucks for her. Maybe she'll be in the sprint relay and we'll move on. I don't think we'd be talking about it. But if they were that as good as Sha'Carri is, then was white, we wouldn't be talking about
That's why we're talking about her, because of how good she is. Okay, so it does. I don't think it has to do, because Greg Louganis, who cared about diving? You haven't cared about diving since Greg Louganis, right? And even right now, you're like, who? But Greg Louganis.
Oh, I know who Greg Louganis is. Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the.
Hit his head on the platform. Yeah,
exactly. One of the greatest divers, but because. Every once in a while, you have this athlete that comes along, whether they're black, white, or other. It doesn't matter. If they then they transcend the sport. Michael Johnson with the gold track shoes was another one that when he ran, you paid attention. Usain Bolt was the other guy. People didn't care about Tyson Gay unless you're just like, okay, we don't want Jamaica to win, so we're going to root for the American guy. Yeah, but he's going to lose. You didn't give 2 shits about Tyson Gay. And until there was a Usain Bolt, and they go, well, here's his number 1 competitor. And he's like, no, he's really not. That's the only reason you cared about him, right? So again.
But Tyson Gay was a big deal. He was a big deal and eventually won.
He didn't. He hasn't. Yeah, he won when Usain Bolt wasn't running.
No. No. Tyson, is it Tyson Gay or is it Richards? There's a guy that had always lost to Bolt and then finally beat him towards the end of his career.
All right, let's look this up. Because Tyson Gay still is not.
I don't think it was Tyson Gay. I think it was, let's see, just which American beat Usain Bolt?
Yeah, ask that one. Justin Gatlin.
Justin Gatlin, yes. Justin Gatlin's who I was thinking of.
And see,
but every year they talked about Justin Gatlin because he was the American best.
Here's my point, though. You just proved my point. You couldn't even remember his name. You didn't give a shit about Justin Gatlin. You remember Usain Bolt, though? You just proved my point. And so the reason why we care about Sha'Carri Richardson, because she was this once-a-generation talent athlete that was coming along in track and field. Whether it's remember the Dan and Dave whole thing for the decathlon. Nobody gave a shit about the decathlon, but because these two were projected to go first and second in the decathlon at the Olympics until one of them shit the bed, then again. Once a generation athletes come along, you pay attention. Doesn't matter whether they're black, white, or not.
All right, maybe I could concede to that point.
Just go ahead and say I'm right. It's okay.
As I said, I can concede to that point.
Oh, it hurts you to say it. It hurts you to say it. Jesus,
does.
You sound like these Republicans here, man. As we switch to politics as usual, because I see Herschel Walker's about to run for office in Georgia, and.
Yeah, and so Alan West is running for governor of Texas to take out Greg Abbott.
Oh boy,
who Alan West has been. He has had a lot to say about Greg Abbott ever since Greg Abbott took office. I'm not a huge Alan West fan, but I'm going to listen because I don't know who the Democratic candidate would be in Texas that would go for that spot. And then maybe this could give someone else the courage to take on Ted Cruz and get him out. I don't care, Republican or Democrat. Get Ted Cruz out. I'd be happy with that.
Here's my question before you get to your Ted Cruz, because I see that was a nice segue right there.
You like how I did that?
Is Alan West more right than Abbott? Is he more to the right?
No.
Okay.
No. I don't look at Republican or I don't look at candidates as who's more right or whatever. It's just really.
When I say right, I mean more to the right, like politically right.
Oh, okay, yes. He is very to the right.
Okay.
To me, it's almost similar. It's just there's some things that Alan West doesn't like about Greg Abbott, but they're almost similar.
Greg Abbott has done everything possible.
West has been a very strong African American Republican, hardcore to the right. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of different things that he said in the past that probably come back to haunt him if he runs for governor, which not if, when he runs for governor.
So Alan West and Herschel Walker are the Patriots' answer to, no, we're not racist. Look, we've got black politicians running.
We've got black people all over the place. Look, there's Herschel. He played football. There's Alan. He's over there. You got Candace Owens. She supports both of them. Look, we love everybody here. We embrace everybody here in the Republican Party.
That's 3 out of 300 million. Yes, exactly what we're saying. Balance.
That's all you need.
Balance.
That's all you need. You're not going to get everybody. I mean, come on. Yeah, I'm wondering if Candace Owens is going to run for a political office.
Oh, dear God, please no. But I can see it. I mean, again,
yeah.
After watching Marjorie Taylor Greene, I mean, it's where we are right now is in such a wild and crazy space, which is why I applaud what you want to do with Ted Cruz and your fight for Ted Cruz. I think you're going to have bigger fights on your hand, as it seems like Texas is about to go in the battle to be who can go the furthest right. But I think Texas is going to Florida, and Texas is going to flex us, and Ted Cruz is going to be right there along with Alan West.
Well, I'm hoping not. But, who knows what could happen? We could have another crazy winter. And I think that'll be the situation this winter. Where does Ted Cruz go when he gets too cold?
Oh, why?
And our energy system's jacked up. Where does he go this time? Because if he don't take his ass to Corpus Christi, and that's about as far tropical as he gets, he's gonna have problems.
He's like, well, we warred our welcome in Mexico, so we're gonna go to Hawaii this time. We're going to Brazil.
Yeah, better do something else than going to Cancun, But we shall see. It'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting time in Texas, as it always is, because we like to do a lot of crazy shit here.
Apparently,
Texas. Yeah. Bring your guns. Pew 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 pew.
I saw this story, and it's interesting because I was like, is this the same story? Did they change the way this was? Because about a week ago, right? Someone sent us this story on Chase Bank reportedly depositing $1 billion in one account, right? The woman, Julia Lonkowski, she went to withdraw $20 from her local Chase Bank, and she wanted to check her balance. Like, we've all done this at some point. Let me make sure how much I got in there first. Realized that she had $999,985,855.94. We're like, wait a minute. So she decided that she wasn't touching it. And she reached out to Chase Bank, couldn't get in touch with them for days. Nobody would call her back. And I'm like, how long do you take before you actually say, you know what, well, let me just take a little bit out just in case. Then there you go. A week later, they put $10 billion in this Baton Rouge, Louisiana. No, it was $50 billion. They put it in their account. Mm-hmm. What the hell is going on at Chase Bank, and why are we not banking there?
Yeah, I'm about to say, we need to get a Chase Bank account just in case. Just keep $5 in it. Just in
check
case.
it every couple hours.
Just check.
Nope, not yet.
Every couple hours, just be like, okay, we're good. I think kudos for them for doing the right thing in not spending the money. But I wonder what would have happened. You think of playing Monopoly, right? Bank error in your favor, collect, $10 billion. I just wonder, what would have happened if they took that money out, put it into some type of, offshore bank account someplace else, and then what? What would happen?
They would ask them.
I don't know. That's just a crazy story, but I guess it's kind of scary that whatever technology Chase Bank has, it doesn't send an alert of a transaction of that size. I would think that if you're going to be depositing billions of dollars in somebody's account, somebody should be looking at those lines daily and be like, wait a minute, this doesn't add up.
And my question then becomes, what do you do in this case? Because you say, if you transfer it to an offshore account, obviously, they're going to say, you need to pay it back, right? What if I take $10,000, put it in a CD over here, and, so generate a little bit off of it. And so when you come back and ask for the money, oh, well, here. And I give you back all of it, minus what I make off that $10,000, $100,000. Because if I make a quick $5,000, $6,000 off of it, is that mine to keep? Because I was looking out for your money for you, like how you take a little bit out for looking after my money for me.
Well, that's an interesting point, because what if you took, let's just say $1 million, and put that into your Robinhood account, hit up a few stocks. It only lasts for 3-4 days, but let's just say those stocks went up by 1%. Let's say you hit up 3 stocks that went up 1%, and then you sell. And then to your point, oh yeah, here's your
million back.
million.
I got a nice cool $100,000.
Exactly. That could be something you would do with it, and be like, hey, I'll get it back to you on Monday. Need 5 days. Get it back to you on Monday. That would probably be a good idea. I would do something like that. Flip it real quick. Even if you bought 1 million shares of a certain stock and it just went up by a quarter. And if it went up by a quarter in 3 days, which certain stocks can be volatile, they can do that. Go up a quarter in 3 days and you sell it, it's a nice little chunk of change. And and here's your $1 million back. Appreciate it.
I knew it wasn't mine. I'd say just like the people who said, no, it wasn't mine. I didn't own it, so I couldn't do anything with it. Here, take it back. Oh, by the way, I'd like to deposit $100,000.
I called y'all. I emailed you. I emailed you. I called you. I hit y'all up on Facebook. So I borrowed $1 million, but thinking that maybe this was just a mistake in my favor. But you know what? You were right. It is my fault. Here you go. In fact, if it's Friday, be like, I'll give it to you Monday because I can't withdraw from my Robinhood account until Monday.
Oh, that's where you go. Hey, hit him with so on the next business day, your request came in after 2
just like y'all do me.
So this will be processed on the next business day.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Let's get out of here, man. What you sipping on?
Basil Hayden.
Oh, nice.
Got a nice Kentucky bourbon.
Yep.
Been sipping on this all day yesterday, and then, a little bit today.
I'm on my Bullet bourbon.
Nice. Can't go wrong with the Bullet.
Still in.
I think we need to talk about doing we should do one of those whiskey tours. Like, let's go to Kentucky.
Large.
Like a little weekend getaway. Yeah.
That ain't.
Yeah. Talk it over with the fam. We could plan it out like, I'm thinking maybe like August. No, more like September, October, where it's kind of cool but nice.
Let's do it. They got golf courses out there
bourbon
too?
trails. I say we do it. Yeah.
Probably dangerous to go out there after.
Yeah, there are golf courses in the state of Kentucky.
I'm saying might be a little, risky going out there with golf clubs after sipping on some bourbon, but okay, we can do it.
I said we go do golf first. We can get 9 or 18 holes in first. Go back to the hotel, shower, change, and then go hit the bourbon tours and do some tastings, and then work our way towards a place that has a great steak.
Word.
So any people that listen that live in Louisville, said it right, Louisville. Anyone live in Louisville, Kentucky, recommend some great steak places for us to eat at as we go do a bourbon trail. Definitely let us know.
All right. Sounds like a plan, man. Let's do it. In the meantime, I'll keep sipping on my Bullet. I'm Yanni Rude.
I'm Just Terrell.
Make sure you follow us at Yanni Rude, at Just Terrell, and at RGRT Pod.
Yes. Send us some of your random thoughts and some of your bullshit. We'll talk about it on the show.
It's the Regular Guys Random Thoughts Podcast. Cheers.
Cheers.